who is becoming rich during the pandemic. So I want to focus on at least two groups of people that could use any type of crisis to actually improve their situation. I'll explain that. So the first group are those that are most adaptive and receptive to change. So you may have heard the example of Slack, how they were in one field and they pivoted to another field. Most businesses that are very successful, especially startups that are new, don't become successful in the way that they imagine. That's because the market is complicated and you have to try different things. You have to iterate and, like the lean startup model, and try different things to see what leads to product market fit. And the market is always evolving and changing, so you always have to be willing to do that. So people that have the mindset of change, see, a lot of people fear change, and that makes people resistant to change. But people that have what's called a growth mindset, like Hal Dweck wrote about in Mindset, and everybody has it to a different degree. It's not like either you have it or you don't. But people that are very high in growth mindset, they actually love change because it's exciting to them that like something better is coming. Like if you can develop the growth mindset where you're like, oh my God, it's not that I lost this, but this was taken away, but something better is coming. It's going to be replaced, by something better. Then you know that you have the growth mindset. And people that have the growth mindset do well in crisis because there's so much change and chaos and crisis. Things are changing like crazy that you have to be able to adapt the most quickly. And if you have a mindset of growth, then you could profit from that literally and figuratively. So the most innovation always comes out during crises because people are forced to change. They're forced to do things a new way. Like education is changing a lot, and a lot of other businesses are changing. It's always been change or die, but in a crisis, in a pandemic, it's totally change or die. If you just stick with your old business model that's not working, you'll be out of business before you can snap your fingers. So if you want to stay in business, then the business that you wind up doing might be a lot different than the business that you entered the crisis in. So the first thing is, if the people that are profiting in the pandemic or in any crisis are the ones that are most growth-oriented and amenable, and actually not only amenable, but looking forward to change. People that have the growth mindset is like they love it almost when there's chaos. I mean, maybe love is too strong a word because nobody loves chaos, probably, but they know they have a competitive advantage when there's a lot of change because they know that they're especially well equipped to deal with it. Okay, so the second group of people that profit, especially during any kind of great change, this is a pandemic or any kind of crisis, are those that are the most prepared. So people either that had foresight that this was coming, or they just had a lot of, for example, cash on the sidelines for whatever reason because they're independently wealthy, or they kept a lot of their money in cash, or they have assets that could easily be transferable to cash, do very well because when prices come down, and nobody knows if we've hit the bottom or whether we have a lot more to go, then, they could go on a buying frenzy. Like Warren Buffett, who I think had about $120 billion or so in cash set aside, which is no small number, is famous for saying, be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. So he says the time to leave the market, I don't know if he said this or someone else, but famously the time to leave the market is when your barber starts giving you stock tips, which means that when everybody is in on something, then it's probably like past its peak. But the opposite is also true. Like when there's blood in the water and everybody's afraid to buy anything, that's probably the time to buy because, according to Buffett, because the bargains at that point are incredible. Like nobody has any money to buy anything, or if they do have the money, they're too scared. So the first group of people that profit during a crisis are those that have the growth mindset, and the second are the ones that are the most prepared, either because they have foresight ahead of time, or just because they're in an advantageous situation, or they can put themselves in an advantageous situation to be the most prepared to take positive advantage for themselves of the crisis.